Hi there, this is the Mystery Baker and this is my second tutorial. I'm still very nervous, but I'm just going to have to go with the flow. This tutorial is about the baking of cupcakes, but I'm going to start right from the beginning. So I'm going to split them into 3 videos, so it's not one huge long one. This video is going to be step 1, which is going through the tools and equipment you'll need in baking and decorating the cupcakes, etc. The video number 2 will be the baking of the cupcakes themselves, and then number 3 will be the making of the buttercream and the decorating of the cupcakes ready for your party, I suppose. Now, you can always skip this tutorial number 1 for the tools and equipment if you already have them, but if you haven't, here goes. Okay, the kind of equipment that you will need, right back to basics, first of all is cupcake cases. Voila! Okay, now you can buy paper ones and they're great, but I prefer the foiled ones, and there is a reason for that, and that's because some of the paper cup cases, they lose their colour during the baking process, whereas the foil ones don't, and in actual fact they retain their shape a lot better too. So that's my preference. You choose, it's up to you. This is just my preference, okay? So you need also cupcake tins, okay? And here's mine. And as you can see, the cupcake cases fit perfectly inside. Now, I'm not saying you have to have one of these and you have to go out and buy one if you haven't. I'm just saying this is what I use, and the reason is this. When they're in these basic, they're like a shell for the cupcakes to sit in, they remain in a fixed position, but if you were to put them on a baking tray and bake them, they're free. And unfortunately that means they're free to expand and bend in the rising process. I'm not saying it always happens, but it can. So that's why, for consistent results, I use the tin. Okay, so that's my preference. Alright, now you will need, very quickly about this, you'll need a bowl and a sieve. This bowl, okay, is one I've had for a long time, and the reason I like it is because I make a lot of pastry too, and it keeps it cool, and when you're making pastry it's important that the butter and things are as cool as possible, but I also use it for baking cakes. The sieve is something I do use, and I'm not saying you have to go out and get one, but if you're wanting a nice light sponge, sieving is great to get that extra bit of air inside. So pick this up for £1, and I think it's 7 years old, so it's done the trick. You'll need some scales. These are regular scales, nothing fancy, and you don't have to go out and spend a fortune. You can, but these weren't very expensive, but they'll do exactly what you want, and that's weigh the measurements. Okay, now also, which I like to talk a little bit more about, is you'll need a mixer, and it's a bit of a contentious subject because there are products out there, for example the KitchenAid, and that will set you back between £300 and £349 for one of those nice KitchenAids, and that's great if that's what you want. But if you're starting out, it's very expensive to go and find that money, especially when you're just learning. The only problem I have is what people tend to do is they'll go for a cheaper brand, say paying about £40 to £60, £70 for one of these standalone mixers. But in my personal opinion, they're an absolute waste of time. You might as well throw your money away. When you put the contents in the bowl, the mixer goes round, flings the flour and butter to the side, and you spend half the time having to stop the machine to push it back in. So my option, and the one I use, is probably the cheapest option too, and I'll show you. I use a handheld mixer. Voila. Nothing too expensive. You can get expensive ones. I think you can go up to about £200 for them, but you can come down to the basics. There are cheaper on the market than this. I think this was £20 to £25, but you can go lower. But all you need it to do is mix the ingredients in the bowl, and this will do the trick. I promise you that. So don't go overboard and buy these huge KitchenAids unless you're going to go for the top brands. Don't pay 50 and 60 for one, because they just don't work. Buy one of these instead. So that's the baking side. Now I'm going to go very briefly through the equipment that you'll need to make the cupcakes. Now you can buy in the stores these products here, and these are sugar strands, and you can just sprinkle them on, and they're great, and the kids can do it. All the more fun. These are mini jazzies, which is little ooh, they look quite nice. Chocolate sprinkles, I suppose. But I love this one. I got this in one of the bargain basement shops, I suppose. And there's various types including some sugared glitter. And they're brilliant. I like the colours in them. Now, you can use cutters, and I do have quite a few, but bearing in mind I've been doing this for 3.5 years, and I've accumulated a lot of things, and some of the things I've never used and some of them I have. But these are cutters, and they've got this one's a flower, and you press down into the fondant and pop it out. There's a little press. This one's a leaf. And this one's a very small flower. Same principle. Pop. And these are great for using on cupcakes. Because they're smaller, they're more fun, and you can just sprinkle them on, and they're great. I'm actually going to be using them in the cupcake tutorial, just to show you actually. So there you have those. These here are great. Now, I got these in a set. They're plastic scone cutters, I suppose, but I think America calls them biscuit cutters, and they're great for making circles. I know that sounds complicated, but it's difficult to actually get the perfect circle. And I'm going to be using this one today. I know it's this one, but just to show you how you size them, I'm going to be using this as a little topper to sit on the top of the cupcake with a little rose sat on it. But the reason how I size them is basically it has to sit inside the cupcake, not outside, or, you know, because it look a bit silly. Just a slightly smaller, like so. So I'll be using that one shortly, and I will show you. Now, to decorate with the buttercream, you'll need a piping bag, like this. And you don't need to if you don't want to do the American style cupcakes. I love fairy cakes sprinkled with some icing sugar on at the end. They're delicious anyway, and they look lovely. But if you're wanting to do that kind of American style cupcake, you do actually need to spend some money and buy these disposable bags. That's just, there's no way around it. And also, you'll need a nozzle. Now, I know a lot of people who go out and they'll buy every nozzle in every size, and really they haven't got a clue what they're buying and why they're buying them. I have 3 in my collection, and this is the one I use the most. It's a Wilton 1M, M for mother, 1M, and that makes the ice cream effect, and I love that one, and it is a good investment to get that one because you'll use it over and over and over again. Okay, so that's that. Now you'll also need a rolling pin, and this is ideal for when you're working with small pieces of fondant, and it's very smooth and it's perfect. And you will need one if you're going to make this a regular pastime. Okay, so I'm going to make a little disc for the rose that we've been making in my first tutorial. I'm going to do the topper for this now. So I've already coloured my fondant. It was white, and I've added some CMC, and just to firm it up a little. But you know, as I say, it's your preference. You don't have to, but I use that. And also to roll, you'll need obviously your rolling pin and an icing sugar. You can use corn flour or cornstarch, but I use whatever's in the cupboard, and this happens to be it, icing sugar. And I've seen some demonstrations where they load their board or load their worktop with lots of icing sugar. But the truth of the matter is, you don't need a great deal, and don't overdo it because you'll dry out your fondant. It's as simple as that. So I'll show you how little you need. 1, 2, 3. Voila. And just rub it into the surface where you'll be working. Place the fondant down, and to roll. Don't worry, it's easy. So start, roll, turning as you go. All right, just keep it moving because you don't want it to stick to your surface. Okay, now you might need more fondant than this if you're wanting to make a batch of 12 for your cupcakes, but this is a demonstration, so I'm just going to show you one. Now, just to do this in slow motion, a lot of people go, when they're rolling, you don't. Well, I don't. You roll from the centre, roll from the centre, roll from the centre, and you're pushing it so it's more level. You want it level. You don't want a thick end here and a thin end there. So that's my way of doing it. So I think that's thin enough. Okay. Now if it was sticking, you lift it. But I know it's not sticking, but I'll put some more on to show you. And lift it back on and roll again. Turn, roll again. So it's as thin as I am wanting. And as we decided before, we're going to use this size cutter, and I think I'm going to use the fluted edge. Okay, and basically place it down, even pressure, and a slight twist, not too much, just a slight twist. And I usually remove the excess fondant from the outside, but it's my way, not necessarily how you're going to do it. And there you have it. I'm just going to gently pick it up, and it's frayed a little. Is that a word? Frayed? Yeah, okay. And it's just where the fondant parted. That's all it is. And you just tap. Don't be afraid. This is a great opportunity to get used to handling fondant, is by making cupcakes anyway, because it gives you confidence. So okay, I'm happy with that now. Okay, so I'm just going to sit that there. I'm going to put some icing sugar on because I haven't iced that end. I'm just going to sit it there for now. And just to make it a little bit more interesting, I'm going to use this tool here. I think it's called a ball tool, and I think they're actually for embossing. Not necessary for this craft, but it is used in this craft as well. And I'm just going to, I hope you can see this, I'm just going to make, holding it very gently in the centre, no pressure, just gently, some circles or holes. Okay, I'm just pressing down very gently, no pressure, keep going all the way around. And I'm just kind of making like a doily or a doily effect, or a tablecloth for the rose to sit on, so it looks a bit more vintage maybe. You could add edible glitter on there as well. It's entirely up to you. Okay, now I made a rose earlier. I'm going to put it there. There we go. And you're going to sit it on there like that. Okay, now I'm going to make some leaves as well. So I'm going to show you very quickly how to do it. Now I have got leaf cutters and I could use them, but I'm not, because I'm going to prove to you that you don't have to go out and buy the whole craft store. You can just start small. And this is just some edible fondant that I've pre-coloured, and I'm going to roll again. So I'm just going to put a little bit more icing sugar down there, and again from the centre, roll from the centre and keep it moving. It's just so it doesn't keep sticking. If you keep rolling it in the same place, you could end up tearing it when you do go to lift it up. So I'm quite happy with this. Yeah, that's thin enough for the demonstration. Okay, and it's even and it's smooth. So I'm going to draw a leaf. Now you can use a knife, but I've got a craft knife or scalpel. I'm not a surgeon, but you know. And because I'm doing two leaves, I'm going to just half them. Okay, now the reason I'm halving them is if I'm cutting here and this was attached, I can sometimes crush this side by accident, making the fondant uneven. So I'll move that out of the way. Now I'm not going to do this amazingly. I'm just going to draw a leaf shape as I remember, as I may have done in school, and it's just kind of an eye. Sorry if I'm in the way. Now this fondant is a little bit dry because I made these a long time ago, because it's took me absolutely ages to set this tutorial up. And again, any fraying, just tap and it smooths off the edge. Okay, I think that'll do, don't you? Yeah. Alright, now this I use, it's a veiner. But you can use the back of a knife, it's the same principle. And what I'm going to do is make the vein of the leaf. Can you see? I hope you can, I'm sorry if you can't. And then from that centre vein, just push out and draw little lines. And to prove that you can use the back of your knife, I'll just lift this to show you better. Okay. Pretend that was, I'm using the blunt end of this, but let's just pretend this was the knife. You just use the back of the knife. It's the same principle. Yeah? Not too hard, you don't want to go all the way through. I think that'll do. Don't beat yourself up if it's not perfect, you know? Now try and keep the second leaf the same size, relatively. But I don't think it matters too much. I'm just drawing. No, it's not the same size. See? Proving I'm not perfect. Oh dear. I'm sure you'll get over that. Alright. Okay. And again, vein. Alright. And then lines from that vein out. Alright. And I hope this is picking up. It's difficult sometimes when I'm doing these. I think, I hope they can see. I just hope they can. Alright, so it's just to give a little bit of detail. Now, bearing in mind, you should leave this to harden, but this is, as I say, it's a demonstration. I have to do it now for you, okay? So it's still a bit soft. But I'm going to put the rose on here. Now you're thinking, well, how does she glue that on or stick that on? You can use water and just a small amount, but I'm going to use, do you remember on my first tutorial, my Magic CMC? Well, this is why I think it's so brilliant, because it's so versatile too, because you can actually make edible glue. And boy, is it brilliant. Wow. So, all you need, let me just think, I think it's 1 part Tylose to 30 parts water. So, half of a teaspoon of Tylose and 30 half teaspoons of water, if you understand. So basically a little goes a long way. Now I'm going to stick this down with some Tylose glue. You don't need a lot, so please don't be splashing it around. You just need a little. Turn it on the base, and just where you're going to glue it, a little bit of glue to sit it down where you're happy. Okay, I should have really moved that closer to you. Sorry, I will get used to all of this. And then the leaves. Okay, again, you don't need very much. Right, I'm not going to glue the leaves. I'm going to actually put the glue onto the rose. Okay, because I don't want these sticky when I'm dealing with them. So if I can just show you, and hope you can see, place it on the back and it should stick, and then just gently mould it how you want. You can shape it if you want, okay, to make it look more, I suppose, lifelike. And then again with the second one, place it on the back. Sorry if I'm, way it's difficult to know that I'm doing it right. And again, shape it or whatever, and that's it. Okay, and just leave them to dry. Now bear in mind, don't stick the rose on until this base is dry. I should have waited, but I can't wait because I'm showing you how to do it. And I've made some here in advance to show you. I'll bring them over. And I haven't done the leaves on this, but I've got the little toppers and they'll sit lovely on the cupcakes, and I've done 3 of those. I've got 3 of these roses to sit on the cupcakes, and they'll stand alone. They don't need to be on the topper here. And then I've just cut out with these little cutters some flowers and things to sprinkle on the remaining cupcakes, just to give you a selection. So when I do the second tutorial of the baking, and then number 3 being the decorating, you'll see all of these in action again. So I'm following it through for you, okay? Now, finally, I just wanted to say that the second tutorial, I hope it's of interest, but it's going to basically describe the recipes and things. A lot of people want to get into the cake decorating, and that's great, but they haven't quite mastered the baking side, and it's really important. In fact, I think it's the most important. You can use packet cake mixers and they're absolutely fine. I'm not saying don't use them. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get people back into the kitchen just to see and show you how easy it is and how enjoyable. And I'll tell you one thing for sure, how much better a homemade cake is to one of those packet mixers, okay? So please tune in. I'm going to set up that tutorial soon, and have the baking of the cupcakes done, and it is one of my own recipes and methods. I've only been cake decorating for 3.5 years, but I've been baking cakes and baking in general since I was about 11. So I've tried every recipe going, and I've kind of tweaked things, and what I'm about to show you in the next tutorial is how I make cupcakes and always get a beautiful flavour in the sponge and consistent results. So I hope that's helped you, and I look forward to you tuning in for my second part of the tutorial on cupcakes, and hopefully you'll then want to watch me making the delicious buttercream and the decorating of the cupcakes ready for the party. So thank you again, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.